All right, guys, we're
Woo!
back. Jesus, we're back again for another episode of the Film Fuks. You know, it's been a little bit.
It's been
today,
a hot minute.
it's been a hot minute, and by that we mean it's been about 2 weeks. So
Hell yeah!
now we
That's
know
what
exactly.
A hot minute
Yeah.
is
When
2 weeks for us.
When
A
anybody
fortnight.
says a hot minute, they're talking about fortnight.
Yeah.
It's a fortnight.
Are kids still playing that? I hope so.
I think so.
It's the new Pokemon, right?
Sure. That's
When are they gonna add Pokemon to Fortnite? They have Thanos and Godzilla in it.
That honestly, the Thanos DLC thing or
It was
whatever it
pretty
was,
sweet, right?
it was more fun than any other part of the game because
Hey, smashing stuff in that game is actually fun.
yeah,
But not playing it, it's not fun.
no, it's not. But once you get like the Thanos powers, it's just like so like
Why
you have
didn't
to
they
be.
just make that a game?
I don't know, but you just have to be an
Come on,
idiot.
Marvel.
You'd have to be an idiot to do it. Okay, so guys, this week on the Film Fucks,
Woo-woo.
we are going to be reviewing. It's
Going
our
back in time.
our third
This
throwback
is our fourth rewind.
or
It
rewind.
was Rugrats, Road Warrior, Princess Bride. We don't count that one.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now,
You mean Trolls 1?
Trolls 1.
Trolls 1. And yeah, our fourth rewind, we'll be doing Who
The
Framed
classic,
Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. The noir
the classic.
cartoon classic.
Yep. And so what we thought we'd start this off with. So Carl is being very silent today because he's not here.
Because he's not here. He
So
didn't see the film.
Yeah,
but
he
you
didn't
know
see-
how these intros go.
Yeah, he didn't
Sorry,
see the film,
Grant.
so we're going to call Carl.
We got you.
Yeah, Carl has become the new Grant because for some reason he didn't see this film. So here we go.
Yeah, for some reason. God.
Let's see how he does. If he doesn't do great, we're just gonna we're gonna call Grant. We're gonna
No pressure, Carl.
No pressure, Carl. You better answer too.
You know us, we never cut anything.
Hello?
Hey, Carl.
Hey, buddy.
How's
Hey,
it
dude.
going?
You're on the
How's it going?
podcast.
Yeah, you're on the podcast. So yeah, we thought we'd ask you, what did you think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Give us your quick review.
Yeah, quick
A
review
Grant style,
/ summary. You know,
Grant style review.
Well, I liked how the movie incorporated cartoons and humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the adult jokes that were in it because, the first time that I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I was a child, so,
He was
it went over
joking.
my head. But watching it as an adult, I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was a okay movie,
Was it- By okay,
I'd
you
give it
mean
like
a
a-
perfect film, right, Carl?
Yeah. By okay, you mean perfect, like 5 stars.
A five.
Five.
No,
star
I'd
film.
I'd give it like a 3.5.
Okay, so you give
That's
you give
really
a
good,
fucking a
Carl.
blowjob.
Yeah.
Who framed Roger Rabbit? You want to give a fucking 3 with all the sexual innuendo?
3.5.
No, you're a dumbass. Give it a 4, you
There you go.
ding ding.
Hey, sexual innuendo does not warrant a
A
bump
3.5.
up. It
Fuck
does
you.
not warrant a bump up of
It does.
score. That's ridiculous.
It gets at least a
You horn dogs.
Get out of here.
Hey, get out of here, you horn dogs.
Love you. That was great.
Yeah, that was
No,
it started
okay,
off a
wow.
little slow. Grant's a little more of a showman, but yeah.
That's true. No, and really brought it in at the end, just like this movie.
Yeah, this is and it was also the first introduction to Tammy Rivers.
Yay.
So yeah, I think we might try and get her on the podcast. We don't know
That's
what
a
movie.
good idea.
Yeah.
She'll be the new car.
Yeah, she'll be the new Carl. Carl will just be in hell for permanently.
Poor Carl.
Yeah. So, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, it's a classic of my childhood. I think Wally, you agree?
Most people's childhood, like millennials, as far as millennials are concerned, it's like, yeah, it's one of those things you go back and you hear about so many people saying that like our cartoons had a lot of like adult innuendos. This is all over the place. And
Yeah.
when you watch it as an adult, it's not even trying to hide it.
Yep.
But yeah, like as a kid, it would go straight over your head, and I feel that's very in tune with like the '40s aesthetic that they're going.
What, that it goes over your head?
Well, that it's not necessarily meant for kids only. That it's.
See,
it's-
I would argue that it's not meant for kids at all. I would
We'll
argue
get
that
into
just because
We'll get into that.
just because there's cartoons doesn't mean that it's for kids.
That's true. Sausage Party, the ultimate.
Well,
kids
yeah,
movie.
Sausage Party, definitely not a kids movie. What was it? The Happy Time Murders, definitely not a kids movie.
Yeah.
But
that is okay. I see the point you're making, but with this, it's not just the adult innuendos. There's enough whimsy that we've associated like with kids movies, like in this movie, that I feel like it is more of a family film. Yeah, it's a darker family film. Like it goes with the whole like noir aesthetic and just like the 1940s in general. Like they would not make this movie like they did in the 80s like now. Like it's not I would say it's not a PC friendly movie at all.
Well, what I would say is this movie, it came out in 1988. Like it's not, I would argue it's not a kids movie. It's not for kids who were born in the 80s or the late 70s. It's for the parents of those kids who grew up.
Would you say the kids could go see this movie though?
I think that's like an inappropriate thing for a kid to, I mean, there's enough. I mean, the guy gets melted at the end. That's pretty hard and crushed, and then he like it's graphic, but it's
still cartoony.
Doesn't matter. That's like saying Family Guy's for kids. It's not. South Park is not for kids. It's the same.
No, I'm gonna argue with that.
No, Wally, that stuff is not for kids. It's just
Family
not.
Guy is not for kids for sure, but it's because they swear. There's a bunch of like.
But the thing is,
adult things happening. Yeah, he gets flattened like a cartoon character.
But the thing is, the cartoon characters they're referencing aren't from the 80s. They're from the 50s. They're from when the parents of the kids that were born during the time when they would be growing up in the 80s.
Did you also grow up with like Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, all the Looney Tunes?
I never watched the Looney Tunes. The only time I ever saw them was in Space Jam. Yeah.
Okay, because I did grow up with the Looney Tunes.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that doesn't
like
necessarily mean it's referencing it's referencing all these things from the 50s and 60s, which the audience for that in the 1980s would be older. They would be like 30s to 40s.
I think with those movies, those cartoons and those movies have really crossed generations. Like most people at least understand the concept of Dumbo. Whether or not you've seen like the whole thing, like Dumbo's in this movie, people understand like Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. But
originally those were like more family
friendly
characters.
See, I would argue that like the Looney Tunes are a little less family friendly than a Dumbo or a Disney or something like that. So I can understand if it was like a solid Disney movie, but
is
like
this a Disney or Warner Brothers?
It's Warner Brothers, but remember, I think you said that they were able to like get the like image rights for.
I think it's Disney, and they got the rights for the Warner Brothers characters, and they're like. The way to make it work, they had to have like Daffy Duck and Donald Duck like have the exact amount of screen time, and that's the same with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny.
You think it was Disney?
I believe
that'd be an interesting. Yeah, then I might argue that it was a little more of a.
I think it is meant to be a family movie, but it's a very wink, wink. Look at what we can do because of the 40s aesthetic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I guess we're getting like all the controversial stuff about this movie out of the way first. There's
such a sexual undertone to all these the hard-boiled detective noir things
also like we could get into the styles of the different characters they made Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit more of like kind of Tex Avery characters.
Yeah.
And so there's this cartoon called Little Red Hot Riding Hood, which was
Little Red Hot Riding Hood
was supposed to be an update of obviously the Little Red Riding story. It was a Tex Avery story where like she's a singer in a lounge and like that's where if you remember in the movie like The Mask like. He's howling like a wolf.
Yeah, it's like an homage to that. Yeah. Okay.
So those are what Roger Rabbit and like Jessica Rabbit were like, especially like kind of framed off of. But they really wanted to exaggerate Jessica Rabbit to a point where they're like, we don't want to make her too grotesque. I saw some other drawings of where they almost went, and I think they struck a happy medium, all things considered.
Really?
Yes.
From where they were going to go? That seems insane considering what she looks
but
like.
They were just gonna. She was literally gonna just be boobs on a stick, pretty much, which she still kind of is.
I want to see these because that seems ridiculous. Because I would say she's like such a aggressive caricature, such a like insane sexualized thing that.
And that was the point.
Know.
Like they even like make fun of that like in the movie. But yeah, like I don't know. Even with the age, you could get away with so much more. I know. Like I guess the theatrical release of this movie when they're in that car, Benny, and they like crash, and she's like falling out of the car. You get an upskirt view of her, and apparently she's not wearing panties. They cut that out of the VHS like DVD version.
Well, yeah, because I think there's like in the 80s and 70s you could show like breasts like in like PG movies. Yeah,
that's true.
And it's like PG is meant to be like for slightly older kids. Like it's not even.
So you're saying this isn't like a family movie? You got to consider like what other family movies were coming out at this time. You had stuff like The Goonies, which.
But that follows a bunch of kids doing something. Like that's the thing is that like there's no kids in this movie. There's just adult car. Even the baby talks like a man and slaps women on their butts.
Okay, I could see.
Like I don't feel that kids this would interest kids.
You don't think this could get kids into noir?
What kid when they're like really little is like, I really want to like.
I feel there were so many like again to go off just cartoons. I can't really think of any specifically, but there was always that detective episode. Like noir is like heavily ingrained in our culture as just some sort of genre that at least kids would have been exposed to at some point. But they understand the idea of the hard-boiled detective. Like,
see, that's why I feel like did you play detectives when you were kids? I never did. I mean, the most I did was on.
Where's Carmen Sandiego? That was a detective.
Yeah, but that was like 80s too. That was a little before our time, wasn't it? I don't think
they came out with like computer games of it, and I remember playing that pretty young.
Yeah, I guess like those pictures where you had that like that's like I used to get so pumped when my mom was like I can't find my keys, and I would just like go around and dig around for it, but I was never like I'm playing detective. I'm like, oh, I'm finding this thing. So like I think that's another like outdated thing. It's like playing cowboys and Native American or Indians, but like that's I don't see any kids playing that, but it's
We're really
something
looking
that
at this with like a 2019 perspective.
What do you mean?
On this film.
I'm looking at it from like what it's invoking in its attempt to show nostalgia and kind of subvert nostalgia, and the stuff that's kind of it's trying to do is like it's nostalgia for things from the 50s and 60s and maybe even the 40s and 30s a little bit. It's like
I feel with animation though, like it ends up kind of being timeless when you add the animation factor in that.
No, but no. But it's like the hard-boiled detective thing, the like noir, but it's also like these cartoons that are stylized that like came about in the 50s and 60s. Like it's invoking stuff from the childhoods and early adolescence of the people in the late 80s who would be having kids. Like, yes, I understand why kids were shown this. It's because their parents wanted to see it. But
would you feel that way about like Pokemon nowadays? That feels like more it's like our generation.
But Pokemon was never like there. I mean, the worst like innuendo it got was Brock just being a little horny. Like it was there wasn't
about like the Detective Pikachu movie because that's like the 2019 version of this movie.
Yeah, but there wasn't. It's not like there's innuendo in that. At least not that I can recall.
I feel like
it was pretty.
With Ryan Reynolds, I'm sure there was. He was talking so fucking fast. I didn't get every joke he said. I'm sure it was a PG pushing Ryan Reynolds in that. He just
made a lot of like coffee jokes and like
Christ.
Like it's like stupid. It's kind of like dumb, like PC Ryan Reynolds stuff. Like it wasn't like Deadpool. It's not like Deadpool in Pikachu's body.
Even when we watched that though, I thought we both agreed that it was more of a darker family film.
Yeah, it was, but I don't necessarily think
like what.
I don't know, because I think the one thing that like is lost to me in Who Framed Roger Rabbit is like there's no like I think family was the major thing in this movie. There's no family in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, in Detective Pikachu. Sorry.
Okay.
Like it's family oriented.
Yeah, well, that can just segue us into the log line. So the log line for this movie is a hard-boiled detective is down on his luck, and he is able to rekindle his heart and humor through a case of the title, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Through that...
Wait, what? Hold on, walk that back to me, because that was a long and kind of confusing... What's the log line?
Okay, we'll say a down on his luck, hard-boiled detective gets his heart and humor back through solving the case of the title of the film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's his.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't add the title of the film, but as solving the case of who, just say
solving the case. Because
by solving the case of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a hard-boiled detective regains his sense of fun and fun and family. I guess I wouldn't say there's a lot of heart in this movie. Like it seemed like the Toons and the Toons getting Toontown was a like it was supposed to be like the like this is the like
that's
the feel good moment, but I didn't give a shit about them.
And I absolutely agree with you with that. But like the good moment for me is like they're very subtle at foreshadowing what Eddie Valiant once was. He was a clown. Like him and his brother, they were clowns together. They performed. He was a circus performer, and that shows at the very end. Yeah,
he was a cop.
He was a cop, but he would also like they showed him dressed up as a clown.
In
those old pictures.
Yeah,
so he had this sense of fun. He had maybe in like a different career. He was like.
It's like a loss of innocence and a return of innocence, sort of. Because like it's like a child, because that's what Toontown is. It's like a childlike innocence. So, but
it's wrapped in this hard-boiled exterior, but like it has that childlike innocence that comes back to you.
But it's not like at the end I'm like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. No, like.
I felt that way when like he's finally being silly, and he also becomes a cartoon character. Like he gets his head stuck like in a light, and he just like
zaps
like just like a cartoon character. And in that moment it's like okay, he's found his sense of fun again. He's doing that to. You see, he does have heart,
but he's not doing it for fun. He's doing it to kill people. Like all the like comedy stuff he's doing at the end, he's doing it to kill the weasels.
It's still funny though.
Yeah, I guess, but it doesn't feel like he still talks with that gruff accent. He doesn't change at all, and then they just walk into Toontown.
No, you forget he kisses Roger Rabbit at the end.
Oh my God! What?
That's the classic.
He kisses Roger Rabbit.
Men kissing men because it's the 40s and it's funny.
Okay. Men kissing men, how outrageous.
How outrageous, yeah. Again, another thing to date this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that
just so the actor Bob Hoskins who plays Eddie Valiant, he does such an amazing job. Like I feel he really carries this movie. Like even as a kid, I'm not gonna lie, like I wasn't the biggest fan of Roger. I did find him just kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Even like as a kid, I was like, why isn't like Bugs Bunny in this role? I'm like, it's also a rabbit. Why not just have Bugs Bunny? And then you grow up and you're like, oh, they had to make a different character, obviously, for this, and it's based on the book.
But Bugs Bunny is also super annoying. Like he's just an annoying dude that just fucks with people.
You've admitted on this podcast you haven't watched Looney Tunes.
He fucks with people. Look at his like, what is it? What's Elmer? No, who's the guy? The Hunter.
Oh my God.
The Hunter guy. That's not Elmer Fudd.
Oh my gosh. Ryan, it is Elmer Fudd.
It is? Oh,
See,
no, I'm
you
thinking
have
of
no
Porky.
stake in-
I'm thinking of
in
Porky
this
Pig.
argument.
But he
Yeah.
just fucks with people. That's his entire shtick.
This character, though, like, he is the analog for Goofy in this movie. And they
Roger Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit is the analog for Goofy in this movie. They even showed that, like, he does silly, like, he's like,
Yeah, because
hurts
doesn't he?
himself, like incidentally. He's more of that character.
Yeah.
They have.
Doesn't he have a thing where he says something about how
He's like, "What's it
Goofy's
better
like
than Goofy?"
Goofy's
Yeah.
a 2-bit
Goofy-
hack or something? I think he says that.
I think someone else says that, or that he's like joking about. No, like they go to the theaters and he loves Goofy. He idolizes Goofy. That's the character he wants to be. That's his analog.
Oh,
But
I
at
thought
the
he
end-
said Goofy didn't have any. It's like Goofy didn't have any like.
I think
Goofy
someone
was
else said
missing
that.
something that he said, but it
No,
was just him and.
He liked Goofy. By the end, like Jessica Rabbit's like, Roger, you were amazing, and he's like, better than Goofy, and she's like, yeah.
And she dropped out, sucked his dick. No,
Suck that carrot.
Oh God. But yeah, I don't know.
Patty cake, man.
I
Patty
felt
cakes.
no. Like I do know enough about Looney Tunes. Like I know enough. Like God, I've been to Six Flags. That's a joke.
Okay, I think on a surface level, it is easy to say, "Oh, Roger Rabbit and Bugs Bunny are the same character." They are.
Well,
once you
they're
see
just
the
like-
they're fundamentally different characters. He is a wisecracker. Like his accent is most like he's supposed to be a scrapper from the Bronx. Essentially, is kind of like the influence of where Bugs Bunny comes from. He's always supposed. He only fucks with people if they fuck with him first. That's the whole thing. Like Elmer Fudd is hunting him, so now he's gonna fuck with this dumbass hunter who's messing with him.
Okay.
With Roger, he's like, I just gotta do silly things just for the sake of the comedy.
Yeah, I
These
guess.
are things that can be meshed together, but like when you really explore like both of these characters, they are fundamentally different.
Okay.
I'm just.
What were we talking about that got us on the subject?
I
'Cause-
preferred Bugs Bunny to a Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a one-off character in this. But, okay, why I was bringing that up is, like, Bob Hoskins, the main actor in this, like, I do think he is the main character. Like,
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit is just, like, his sidekick
Yeah.
for this movie. And, like, without him, I don't think this movie would have really worked. It's like that Ryan Reynolds to the Detective Pikachu. You take those factors out, the movie kind of falls apart.
Oh yeah, if Pikachu can't speak, like it's a useless movie. Like that's There's a reason why all the Pokemon movies actually just center around people. They're like the Pokemon are kind of or Mewtwo who can speak. Like it's Pokemon are kind of just tools, and I think
they really are. Like when you it's just. It's legal cockfighting. That's all Pokemon is.
Yeah, but nobody dies.
Nobody dies.
Nobody dies, Wally. They can be
Unless,
re-healed.
Unlike in this movie, you got the dip.
The dip
kills the tunes. All right, let's get into what are our favorite parts of this movie, Ryan.
Oh God.
You loved when the tunes died because you're a sadistic fuck.
I did.
That poor shoe died.
That shoe.
He's just nuzzling good old Judge Doom.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't have a favorite part of this movie.
You were laughing quite a bit.
I was, but it was all just like I don't know. I don't know if I like just remember it from seeing it as a child, or if it was just so predictable that I could just clearly because I remembered the main beats of this movie, but I didn't remember all the like jokes. But there were jokes where I could just immediately call out it was going to happen, and whether that's me remembering it or me just.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite like aspect of this movie, or if it wasn't a scene, like?
Well, it's
like. Did you like the noir, and did you like the?
No, I think the noir wasn't done well. Okay. I think the story, like I said, the story just wasn't up to snuff. It was kind of confusing and very like localized to a point where it's like. And like nobody else seemed to care about any of this, And it's like, why does anybody care?
That is a good point.
It is weird that like
because all the other they have other detectives and they're at that Acme Corporation. They're just like fucking around with the tools as a foreshadow of like, oh, there's going to be a big cartoony battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I noticed too. I'm like, he's the only one who really seems to care about this.
Yeah, it's just and like even his girlfriend's just like, hurry the fuck up, get this done. I wanna like go away with you. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, there was I guess we'll just talk about more nitpicks. I'm fine with it. So in this world, like Jessica Rabbit plays patty cake with another man, and from what we can tell, that is just infidelity in this toon world,
yes.
I guess. Does that ever get like resolved?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. Nothing.
Like it's never said, oh, she's being forced to do this or anything like that. Or
no, but like is that just like Roger Rabbit being so like the character just being so meta that it's like regardless of what she could have like actually gotten down and blown this guy, or she could have just like given him a handshake or like played fiddlesticks or anything, and he would have like
to be the cartoon version of sleeping with someone's
yeah,
wife.
it's like yeah. So it's I don't know, Pat. There's got to be some like old, like they're playing the horizontal patty cake or something. Not that, but like, hold on. But yeah, that was never resolved. It was never like nobody else reacted to it.
I thought one of the times I've watched this, I thought it was like resolved that she was like forced to do that. I might just be making that up.
No, she straight up just did it. That's the weird.
Maybe she's like, Roger, this isn't sex, you stupid rat.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, she's a hypersexualized
she's
being.
Not bad. She's just drawn that way. One of my favorite lines.
Yeah, so like she understands like what a sexual act is, and she knows patty cake isn't, but she already knows that like Roger's just gonna react. Okay, this is fucked up. The patty cake in the Urban Dictionary. The sexual act wherein a woman sits on a man's face while simultaneously jerking him off. That's weird.
Roger Rabbit.
Slang for sex, currently exclusively used by people who still remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Solid.
Excellent. Yes, excellent. There you go.
Yep. So, so I guess
this joke has new life now.
I guess, but it is based solely on Roger Rabbit. Like,
yes.
Apparently, let's see. There's so many people who seem to be obsessed with this because there is so much. Because the tunes you see, there are G and PG ratings, and they are a product of their environment. The R-rated tunes have more conventional sex, but most of them live in Japan, so aren't seen much in Toontown. What? That's a whole
Holy
fan
shit,
theory
dude.
where
That's
this guy,
amazing.
this guy. Shout out to what's his name? Shout out to Spectre299 on Reddit. This is gonna be he has a whole fan fiction of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where there is a world of Toontown in Los Angeles isn't the only Toontown. Or there's cartoons elsewhere.
Maybe that was the sequel that we never get.
So there's Toontown and there's Hentai Town in Japan. And then Weeaboo Town and what are some other animations?
DreamWorks and Pixar World.
DreamWorks and Pixar World. Well, Toontown, yeah, I guess.
They're separate. They're like, we don't
But were they weren't around in the 80s, were they?
3D. Well, just think it like progresses from the.
Okay, so they're like shanty towns. They just spring up.
God, yeah.
They spring up around these like animation studios.
Christ.
God, yeah, but that's pretty funny. What was his name? Spectre 299.
Yeah,
that was a really insightful,
you.
interesting, creepy way of thinking about.
Well, this is a creepy movie, as we've.
Yeah, and
noted.
this guy is definitely. Oh man,
it's his favorite film.
Okay, yeah, he's a wacko. If anybody wants to read some wacky shit,
so
Spectre,
this is all going over the like good stuff.
Yeah, this is all good stuff. God. Some of the R-rated doodles live in Cool World. What?
Oh, that's
What's Cool World?
Cool World. Gosh. Okay. I'm an animation nerd, and I know a lot of these like random ass shit. Okay, Cool World was gonna be like an R-rated Who Framed Roger Rabbit that was gonna come out a few years
1992.
later. But they like meddled with that so much it came off as like PG-13, I believe. It was like one of Brad Pitt's
Yeah,
first
it is
movies.
Brad Pitt. It's Brad Pitt, Gabriel Bryce, and
there's even
Kim
like a more
Basinger.
sexualized like Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was gonna be the adult version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay, so is that related to that you know of? Was that actually like connected to Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
No.
or was it just like
It was
similar
as a
type of?
response
It was
to it.
okay,
Yeah.
and it's Paramount, so you know it's not to be
So
connected.
yeah, Spencer, come on, they couldn't get the rights.
No, that was oh wait, hold on, that was a different guy.
Okay.
That was Mythical Bird with a Y.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, this is crazy.
Now we gotta watch Cool World, and I never watched that one.
Oh God, that doesn't.
I heard it's pretty bad.
I mean, it has. Does it have? It kind of looks like there's like a Ren and Stimpy type character.
Yeah, it's so the guy who directed it, Ralph Bakshi, like he did a lot of like the 70s and 80s like adult cartoons. Like if you ever heard of Fritz the Cat, he's the guy who made the movie version of that. So this
That's
was
a
his last
creepy
movie.
ass fucking movie.
Yeah.
He also is known for Wizards, Lord of the Rings. Ooh,
Yeah, he did the animated Lord of the Rings.
damn.
Yeah,
That's
he has a good
ass-
resume.
Yeah, he
dude.
does have a good Fritz the Cat and
Fuck yeah.
Lord of the Rings, and Mighty Mouse.
He has stuff like there's a movie called Coonskin in there.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
70s.
is
dude.
it? Well, is it all about? Is it about like what's his name? Who's the guy who wears a coonskin cap?
The coon from South Park?
No, no. Believe it or not, the idea of a coonskin cap came out before the South Park episode
Isn't
with the
that,
card main character, the coon. It's David. No,
David
it's-
Appleseed? Johnny Appleseed?
It's Daniel. What is
Danny
it? It's,
Appleseed?
it's the
It's
guy
one of
who was at the
Appleseeds.
Alamo. Who was at the Alamo?
Appleseed. Whatever.
No, Johnny Appleseed was not at the
He
Alamo.
was not at the Alamo?
No, it was
I thought he had a
Davy
rank.
Crockett. That's it.
Oh.
Davy Crockett always wore a
He was
coonskin cap.
Babe the Blue Ox.
Babe the Blue Ox.
He was
That's
at the
that's
Alamo.
that's what is it? John Bunyan? Something Bunyan?
Paul Bunyan.
Paul
man.
Bunyan?
Paul Bunyan.
That's a completely different. Those are see.
We have gotten
Johnny
down such
Appleseed
a
and
rabbit hole.
Yeah,
for
a
this
rabbit hole.
movie.
What a surprise!
Okay,
Two
the-
things that this movies have plenty of is rabbits and holes.
They do have
They
plenty
have.
of holes, man.
Yeah, I wonder if there was the.
That was my favorite scene, is the cartoon battle
Yeah.
at the end.
I mean, obviously, that's like a kid's dream. Like,
Yeah.
who cares about what the? That's why. That's
Well,
the
I
only
like
reason
the-
this
I
could
like
be a
the-
kids movie.
The tune, they integrated really well with the humans and the tunes, like in the scenes. Like we did notice there's some scenes where like, oh, maybe they like pass this off to the intern where it's a little like not as good looking. But all like the scenes with Roger, like they made a point of like, oh, Eddie's always like picking him up, so it's like, yeah, he's in the scene, he's really
Yeah.
interactive with it, and it looks great.
Yeah, and it was really like, what's the actor's name?
Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins. His like interactions were really good. He knew like where to put his hand and like how big to make. Like he did a really good job. It was kind of the side characters, like the
Bartender?
no.
Dolores? Or-
No, she was okay too. There was a little bit, but the one main guy was the head of the studio.
Oh,
He-
was it something maroon?
Yeah, it's Maroon Pictures. Yeah, but he like
He was
his
like
scenes.
the typical like scummy.
Yeah, and his
producer guy.
scenes. So was Acme.
He was
Playing
the nice
patty
one,
cake.
though. He was
Yeah.
the scummy.
Oh, he was
nice
like
one.
a drugged out. Like he's
Yeah.
just so tripped out because
He
he had
wa-
so much money and he just
And- yeah,
he was cartoon. Like he was a human cartoon.
He was. Yeah.
But the
It was
maroon
Marvin
guy.
Acme, and then some MC Maroon or something.
Yeah,
like
it was like for some reason. Oh, I'm never. Yeah, whatever.
yeah, those
are-
were definitely like archetypes of like
yeah.
a noir, but also made them fit in this like cartoon world.
Well, yeah, and they're also it's also like showing like this is somebody who actually cares about the cartoons. Like he basically is a cartoon, and the guy who's just looking to make money
Right,
off
to
of
make
them.
money. Like
Yep.
he can pay him with peanuts.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep, that's great.
I looked that up. I did not entirely know this. Like the whole so the tunes are supposed to kind of be an allegory for like black workers at the time of the 1940s.
Understandable.
And I'm like, oh, that's very
is that
subtle.
Okay? Is that like
it was meant to be like that? They're like, oh, we can.
That's how they wrote it, or is it just
Yeah.
critics saying that? Because anything can be an allegory. Like yeah.
I feel it's so subtle. It's done so well. I think it was meant to be intentional.
Yeah, it's RK Maroon. But yeah, but he, jumping back to what we were originally talking about, his interactions with like the animation were not good. Like they were very sloppy. He kind of like pinched too hard. He just did like a full pinch sometime, and he was like, I think he pinched Roger and picked him up or did something with him. And like he just like he didn't leave space for like the creature that the animators needed to put in.
So I looked at kind of behind the scenes of this. They did like make these big rubber puppets to like interact with the
That's
with
creepy.
the actors. They look really creepy. And what's even kind of creepier, but also very amazing, the voice actor of Roger Rabbit, he would always be on set and he would be dressed as a rabbit.
What?
He didn't have to dress up as Rabbit just to get into character. He's like, I gotta dress as the Rabbit. He would dress exactly like Roger Rabbit.
That is terrifying.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Like, I understand if you're just gonna like talk in the voice, like you're gonna say the lines and then they can.
Hey, he's professional, man. You get this guy.
I guess he's not on camera.
Rabbit.
He's just sitting there saying the line.
It's pretty amazing.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's very creepy.
This is done all before like CG really takes place. Like, I could see the groundwork for something like Groot and Guardians of the Galaxy being like used here.
What?
Because like Vin Diesel was also a character where like
Vin Diesel was a character, or Groot was a character. Vin Diesel was this character. He was this macho dude.
Like he would say like the voice, but they would have like some like a tall extra like would have like a Groot like head on, so they'd be like, oh, they knew where to look and everything.
No, I think they do a mocap. Like I think he was on still. He was on stilts, wasn't he?
He also had like a Groot hat too.
He had a Groot hat?
It was Groot's head on his head.
Are you sure about this?
Yes,
Because that seems... Because I know they do that sometimes, but...
They did that with Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars.
And we know how that turns out. Misa not want to watch this movie anymore. Yeah.
Classic. We'll get to it, people.
We'll get to it, definitely. No, I guess,
Ryan,
so...
let's get into the bad.
Well, did you say what your favorite scene was? Because we just kind of rambled on what mine was. But
I did like this movie with the tunes that is shot very well. Like it's very dynamic. Like I felt there was a big distinction of when you have like the actual like cartoon at the beginning, and then it cuts to the camera like shifts in an angle where it's not usually would be, where it usually wouldn't be in a cartoon. And you have the cartoon characters just interacting with humans. It's like, oh, this is actually going to be shot differently. It's taking care with, like, oh, this is a live-action film now, but it has cartoon characters in it. They have to seem more three-dimensional.
There is a good, just, like, breaking the fourth wall of, like, going from that, like, 2D set to, like, then... Because they did also have to kind of, like, show that in this world... Even though it looks like a 2D set, it actually isn't a 2D set. Mm-hmm. It's all set up, which I thought was interesting, but then it kind of like...
I loved it.
Yeah, and then it pans out, and then you see the characters start interacting and all that.
My favorite scene, though, that's...
I mean, you did say the fight scene at the end was pure kid.
That was really good, because, like, Bob Hoskins and Christopher Lloyd, you take them out of this movie, the movie would not be as good.
Well, yeah, because then there's...
Christopher Lloyd is great. Like, he has always felt like he's just a real cartoon character, too, in, like, most of the movies he's been in. So, he's an over-the-top villain, but, like, that is completely the point. He's called Judge Doom.
Well, he's a cartoon. Yeah, he's supposed to be over the top.
That joke, like, oh... Like, why would someone make such an obvious, like, persona, like, to be evil? It's like, oh, it's because it's a silly cartoon. It kind of, like...
I guess that's my favorite part is when he gets crushed by the steamroller and then he gets inflated. He inflates himself.
Pop out.
Oh, that's so creepy and
I still
horrifying.
Remember that scene particularly from a kid. That was like the one thing
Oh,
from
yeah.
me being a kid that I definitely remember.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Lloyd's transformation at the end.
And
I
his
would say
like
that's my favorite
scream,
part.
his
Yeah,
like weird.
It's amazing.
It's like a
It sounded
creep.
just like this.
Yeah, it's so creepy. When he pops his eyes out, and
Getting
that looked
literal
really
daggers, dude.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh god. Yeah. Okay.
Such
So
a
let's
good
get
movie,
let's
right?
get into like the bad. I guess we've covered it a little bit. Is like
We
mine
have.
is like the story. It's a story that for some reason I don't know why. Because Happy Time Murders did the same thing. Is that like why can't we move away from this? No. Why do we set cartoons and puppets and cartoons in
In the
like do a
40s.
noir? Why
Yeah.
why do we do that?
I feel the late 80s was like the last hurrah for them to like really do that. Because
Wait, we have the Happy Time Murders, and then we have Detective Pikachu. It's not like the actual 40s, but it is like it's a noir, like dark, seedy underbelly of a.
but the 40s, like it's so integral to the cartoons they're presenting in this movie.
What?
The cartoon characters that are in this movie, they're all the 40s versions. Like Bugs Bunny looks like the way he did in the 40s. He doesn't look like modern day Bugs Bunny.
Okay.
They like this was like a celebration for cartoon characters of that time. And I feel like if you waited any longer, like maybe, we would have gotten CG. They would have been like, oh, we're all past this stuff now.
Yeah.
This was like really the time to do something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
then,
don't think
you
we would
did.
have the nostalgia for the 40s that they had in the 80s and stuff like that, or that people had in the 80s.
I was
But-
cartoon nut, so I understood. all
No,
the
not just
references.
cartoons though, but just
Yeah.
like that LA noir like sort of thing.
True.
I feel like LA now
Well,
like
that's become such a genre thing. Like you'll see it in video games. There's that LA noir game.
well yes, but that was a very specific game. But nowadays
So it's like-
there's a lot more I feel like there's a lot more interest in like modern crime drama and modern
There's
stuff like
a
that.
thing called neo noir, and I guess that started kind of in the 70s. Like I guess Chinatown, even though it's set in the 40s, is considered like a neo noir.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah,
And
'cause-
that's also like Blade Runner. That's definitely a neo
Yeah.
noir too.
yeah.
Um,
Chinatown's a neo noir?
it apparently it has like a lot of elements that you wouldn't normally have in a noir. I can't really think of them off the top of my head.
But then why is it a noir at all?
I mean, it is a noir. Like it is a detective story.
Well, yeah, but noir
I think
is
it
just
also-
all detect. It's straight
Also, because
detective
it's in
movies.
color too is another factor you gotta consider. Because like a lot of those noirs, like they were meant to be filmed in black and white.
Yeah.
With all the contrast and stuff, and and Chinatown was them kind of bring that back, but it's a modern noir, so that's what I think counts it as a neo noir.
Okay. But so would you consider like a Happy Time Murders, which is like set in modern times, and that's
that for me. That's just a detective story.
yeah. But
There's-
what's separating? Like, I guess
Well,
there
were
modern
gosh.
noirs?
Yeah, that was a modern noir because the main character had that whole hard boiled
Yeah.
exterior about him. So then it becomes kind of difficult to define. But I think it's a detective story, but it's kind of nudging you with noir elements. But it's not a full-fledged noir.
So, why do you think that they use, like I said, it's kind of like all these movies that are kind of doing something a little bit different, like whether it's puppets, whether it's animation, whether it's CGI, like they do tend to lean towards like that type of film. Can you think of any sort of reason why that would be? Other than it's always like one of the most simple stories and you can kind of do.
See, that's what I was thinking with Detective Pikachu. If they chose a different storyline where, we're just Pokemon and we're fighting other Pokemon, I think general audiences might have a problem with that. It is weird. Like the detective story, the noir story is such a template for films that you can kind of almost slap anything on it, and it's like you can tell where the story is going. You're able to follow, but each of these movies is able to bring like what makes Pokemon special, what makes Roger Rabbit special into that mix of the story.
Yeah, it's
so
like
you know the story, you know how it's going to play out, but you're interested in how it's going to play out through this medium that they've chosen.
Yeah, so it's almost like that's like it gives you like the ability to just go, oh, it's not about the story, it's about what we're doing. Like it's kind of like a trump card where it's just saying where it's saying build the wall, and no, yeah, it's saying that, you know, it doesn't, like, the reason we did this type of story is because the story doesn't matter. It's about, like, you already know going in what's gonna happen. The good guy's gonna win. You know,
I don't know. I really did like Eddie Valiant's like character arc in this though. Like he's an alcoholic at the beginning, and like it's all over the top, like how he switches everything, but that also goes in with the cartoony aesthetic. Like he gives up alcohol. How do they show that? He throws up a bottle and shoots like a cartoony bullet at it, and the bullet comes out and like smashes the bottle with like a tomahawk.
No.
What?
That's not him saying he's giving up alcohol.
Yeah, no,
that's an insane leap.
That's absolutely what that scene was.
No, it was not. It was him seeing if he still had the chops to be a shooter. Like if you go into any like Western film where it's like a retired Western guy, there's always that like
it could be double play.
Dude,
like
you were reaching so fucking hard with that.
I think
that is an insane.
Done.
No, you are absolutely wrong.
It's a cartoon. That's how you would portray that in an exaggerated way.
No, I don't think that he's going to stop being an alcoholic, because a part of like a cop.
He doesn't drink the rest of the movie, right?
Okay, it doesn't matter. He's doing a lot of shit. But I
feel that's what that scene
was. What movie was that? Oh, no, that's because this is a weird plug. On Netflix. That, no, not at all. That's okay. A dumb, because on Netflix. On Netflix. It's just something that like for some reason in like old-timey movies they would do is that have this guy come out and it's always a bottle because it's like kind of like a clay pigeon, and that's how
they made such a point of him being an alcoholic in this movie that was like also a sentimental reason to be like he's done with alcohol. At this point, they push so hard like that he's a fucking alcoholic through this entire film, and I just feel like him shooting the bottle, like that's him getting his aim back, but I feel that works in double of him getting rid of alcohol out of his life.
I just think that's because a lot of those like they don't ever address like he's overcoming alcohol, because like that is a thing about like the hard-boiled cops is they also have some sort of vice, whether it's like
that's
drugs
why, like,
or that,
it was
but
so
they don't.
Over the top, but like subtle at the same time. Like you're saying,
not
you're not
subtle.
really seeing.
I think you're reading a lot more into it than even they would have done. Okay. I think they just are. It's referencing something that was in a lot of old like Western and like it's like the old washed up dude.
I just really like this character.
No, I'm just saying that
this is a really good character that like just worked wonderfully in this world.
That's fine, but having him cure his alcohol by shooting an empty bottle instead of him, it
had alcohol in it, Ryan.
Look up, but look up. It's like called The Highwaymen. It's a new movie with Kevin Costner. It's about like them, like these two old retired.
To be fair, like. I understand the concept of what you're saying. I haven't seen that in too many movies. I could see them doing that, but I also feel it's this other thing.
Oh, it's such a like thematic thing is that like the old retired cop walks out and he's like looking at his gun. He's like, I don't know if I can do it anymore. And I mean, in The Highwaymen, it's such a like, it's so dramatically played that it feels like such a parody.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It's supposed to just be hella like so cool that he walks up. He walks up, talks to these kids, and he's like, I'll give you a nickel for everyone I hit. And he misses them all. Like they throw him and he misses them all. And then he's like, shit. So he's like defeated, kind of like he didn't get that moment. And then finally at the end, he hits 3 in a row or something. And then he walks over to the kid and he gives him like $2. And he's like, this is so you don't tell him. Like it's it's that kind of that washed up character who his entire life centers around this gun or like the weapon. Like a cop, it's all about like, oh, the reason I have power is this weapon. Like
But when we meet Eddie, like his whole thing is like he just wants the booze. He just wants to drink his sorrows away.
Yeah.
He's finally gotten to a point where he doesn't need to drink his sorrows away.
Yeah, he's confronting his demons.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to argue that one of his confronting his demons is he's giving up alcohol by shooting it, that's a very weak argument. And it's a very weak like character development moment. I think he overcomes a lot of others, like his overcoming of his bias against Toons is a way more relevant thing. It's a way more
comes around
in story thing.
Like they show like he's racist towards Toons essentially. He has an alcohol problem and comes back around. Yeah,
but I think the main thing is too like he's constantly talking about Toons and stuff like that. Yeah. At the end of this movie, spoiler alert, there's an after credit sequence. They walk off into Toontown and he immediately he pulls out like a squirt bottle with the dip in and sprays everybody and kills them all. It's fucked up. There's a reason they cut that out, but the one we watched, it was like the extended version. Check it out on Amazon.
Yeah,
there's an after
see that upskirt scene.
You see the upskirt scene. You also see the after credit scene where he murders all the Toons and then takes the property.
Builds the highway.
Yeah, and builds the highway, which was such a such a
twist. Yeah, he rips his head off and he's Christopher Lloyd.
So it turns out the entire time, like Eddie Valiant gets captured after what's his name? After RK Maroon gets killed. Mm-hmm. He actually gets captured and then becomes Judge Doom. And so Judge Doom takes over Edd's body.
Judge Doom to kill the clone.
Yep, exactly. And that's why the clone was cartoony. The actual Judge Doom isn't a cartoon. No, he's just an asshole. He's just a dick. Okay, yeah, so Wally, what's your bad thing?
For me, it's really hard to nitpick this movie. Like, I do understand the whole criticism with the story. I just feel if it was any more complicated, it would really take away from what this story is trying to do with the whole cartoon aesthetic. But to me, the way I came about like this, I was still comparing it to Detective Pikachu, and Detective Pikachu had this moment where it really felt like the cartoon, where the Pokemon were integrated with the humans, where you just see them coexisting. There was never really a moment like that in this movie, and I felt it was kind of missing that one moment. There wasn't like a sweeping shot of like they're on the lot, and then you just see like a bunch of cartoon characters like walking around. That's very impressive, but I never got quite the sense that this really did feel like a lived-in world completely. Not at least to the point I got with Detective Pikachu.
I was gonna say the only time I would say there was like a really good like integration was like the Jessica Rabbit like
that's true the
music scene. But also you get the thing where
best scenes of that one.
Creepy. That's not one of the best scenes.
Ryan, it was really good.
You're a horn dog.
It is one of the best.
I jerk off to it every night. But even I was thinking about that scene because, like, I guess it was good because, like, there was a lot of like the tune.
They're just like making them do work. Like they're not, and that goes back into they're not equals to these humans.
No. That's that's what I was gonna say.
With the
the
scene you were talking about, the tunes are entertaining the humans. Like it's a human-only tune bar where the tunes are entertaining.
And I think that may have been just like a sign of like the fact that at the time, this stuff wasn't up. Wasn't up to par. Like what they wanted to do with it, like the full integration, wasn't up to par, which is why they had to kind of make them like the penguins were servers. Mm-hmm. But like their interaction was just setting a drink down on a table. Like they didn't really or taking an order.
Literal rocks.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was for the character or for the like animated characters to interact with the human characters. It was very low low interaction in that scene, even though that was one of the better scenes where maybe if it was
we're looking at this with 2019 eyes, so it's like that was and still is like really impressive, all things considered, with what they could do at that time.
Yeah, but there are limitations. Like you have to understand the limitations, and that's.
I guess we're at a point now where I'm like, oh, I can totally feel that immersion. That feels like, I don't know if I said this on the Detective Pikachu, like the kind of Star Wars like fantasy world. Like you go into the cantina the first time, you're like, oh, this is a totally lived in new world where like they're not really bringing attention to these things. They're just going about.
It's normalized. But so.
And I guess the lounge scene was the only part that like really stood out to me of being that kind of normalization.
So would you rather have a movie try to be more integrated and fail, or something that does something like Roger Rabbit where it's like, you know, it knows its limitations and it just sticks to them.
But fail?
I'm saying that like. No, I'm saying it didn't try to innovate. It knew how far it could push it, and it just went to that line. It didn't try and go past it, which is why...
I feel I would be more understanding of that. Like, and now with movies, like, everyone wants things to be, like, just big and epic, and you're not... And maybe the general audience isn't as understanding with the smaller scale or something that's, like, kind of turned back. So... I would say, it'd probably bug me initially, but then I'd be like, oh, that was a restriction.
Well, and especially, like, I feel like if you would have seen, like, I think if they would have tried to push it beyond its boundaries, it would have become way more of a kid's movie. Even if it, like, the subject matter stayed the same, if they tried to integrate a little more, if they tried to, like, push things a little further, like the connection between the animation and the humans, because it might not have looked as good, but kids like to overlook.
The whole scene, like the nightclub scene and the scene where he's just walking around the lot, that is meant to be the connective, like, oh, this is a lived-in world sort of thing, but I just didn't get the same feeling I did from something like Detective Pikachu.
No, because I like even Toontown itself, like it's this separate entity that like you really have to go through you have to go through a lot of shit to get to it, and so it's like
it's not like half Toon, half real world.
Yeah, it's like why would the Toons ever leave Toontown? Why wouldn't they? Why is Jessica Rabbit doing a show in the human world? I guess maybe because they pay better, but
they get better peanuts.
They get salted or they get dry roasted peanuts. Mm-hmm. Dry roasted, already shelled peanuts.
Salted nuts, man.
Oh Jesus. But I guess that's
Oh, what the fuck moments?
What the fuck moments? Yeah, I guess mine.
Lena hyena.
Oh my god. Woof. This fucking she's a hyena, so do your best hyena impression right now.
I don't know what it's what hyenas do.
It's a hyena. Yeah, if I could remember any of the lines from Whoopi Goldberg in the Lion King movie, I would say it, but
don't worry, we'll watch the new one.
Yeah.
Is she in the new one?
No, I don't think so. Maybe she makes a I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's just, what's his face? Mufasa's in it.
Mustafa Lees.
So Lena Hyena, that was definitely a what the fuck moment. It was
that
funny,
is.
But
that
even
was.
now watching, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where we're going with it.
That's what we're going with.
Version of Jessica Rabbit.
Fugly,
nice.
Jesus, the most PC term.
Yes.
Fugly version of Jessica Rabbit.
That's what they were.
But like, that's what I don't understand is that she could create the silhouette of Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, they can kind of morph.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then why wouldn't she just morph into a more attractive person?
Maybe she can't hold it for too long.
Man, it's just like any muscle. You just gotta flex it enough, and you'll eventually be able to hold it for longer. Yeah. So my what the fuck moment, I guess, is the melting scene. I mean, that was very reminiscent of. I mean, that whole last scene is just like it's good, and Christopher Lloyd just sells it really well.
Yes, he does.
Between him being smushed and then.
Oh, sorry, I'm interrupted.
No, go ahead.
the Tweety bird, like the Tweety they used in this looks so fucking high. But I'm like, yeah, that is how he looked back then.
Yeah.
Isn't the cute Tweety bird we all know? He just got the droopy eyes.
Yeah, he looks stoned off his ass. Yeah, 100%. No, but yeah, the Christopher Lloyd stuff, I think, it's like Wizard of Oz, sort of like, I'm melting, yeah. So that was a cool throwback, but yeah. Wow, yeah, that, God, it's so creepy. I guess, yeah, from there, I guess we can...
Let's rate this fucker.
Yeah, let's rate this fucker. So while you go ahead, I think we're already pretty...
I feel we should always, like, reiterate what
oh, God. Okay, so it's...
confusing.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give two fuck... Or, no, I fucking hate this movie is 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give 2 fucks about this movie is 2. I give a fuck about this movie is 3. I give 2 fucks about this movie is 4. And I fucking love this movie is 5. And then the in-betweens, so quarters are quarters are hand jobs because we're all about fuck in this. And then we are so funny. So we're just the funniest, and like I know everybody loves it. And the halves are blowjobs. So
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
we might want to change that. Eventually, yeah.
You're the one who brought up the hand jobs and blowjobs. I'm pretty
sure.
But
that was after we were in Madison and talking about it, and I was a little drunk, and
okay, let's not peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, behind the curtain that like
the wizard is still there, man.
Yeah, the wizard's been jerking off the entire time.
Christ.
He will talk eventually.
Yeah, we gotta get him on the podcast.
We do. Okay, so Wally.
Okay, so I'm gonna give this. I give 2 fucks about this movie, and the flaws do kind of fall into what we kind of said about the story, and it just we're looking at it with like fresher eyes. It's like it doesn't quite hold up as much as maybe it did back in the day, but there's still plenty where I'm like I could really recommend this to anybody. I do personally think it's a great family film. There's a lot of intense moments, but it's such an inventive noir. I think it's a good like bridge to get people into noir. I really enjoyed this movie.
Okay, so that's 4 out of 5. So 2 fucks.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like thinking about this, I don't know who I would ever recommend this movie to.
Okay,
I don't know who I know personally besides you, Walter. Because, I mean, Carl...
Someone who gets really stoned.
Carl even didn't see it. I don't even think this would be a good stoned movie. To be honest. Yeah, okay. I just don't. I maybe it's just me personally, but when I get stoned, if I theoretically get stoned, this is not... Yeah, I've never, I don't touch the stuff.
You don't touch that jazz cabbage, the devil's lettuce, none of that. Go on, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you, Wally. I'm not gonna be like, you know what? I want to throw on a noir that isn't, because I guess I did laugh at certain points in this movie, but I didn't think it was that funny.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought like some of the stuff was well done, and it was kind of cool, but I didn't think it was that funny. And
that's fair.
You know, that's just kind of my feeling about it. I don't know who I'd recommend this to. Most of the people who, if I were to recommend this to somebody, they've probably already seen it.
Yeah.
And I
just go see Detective Pikachu instead.
Well, the thing is, like, I think the only people who'd really have any interest in seeing this nowadays are either people that are our age who watch it when they were kids, and it's just a nostalgia thing.
Do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like 2D cartoons are kind of coming back more into the forefront. Like we kind of saw that with Into the Spider-Verse. It was like a good mix of like 2D animation with 3D. So it's like I still think there's a market for that. And at least looks wise, like I think this holds up really well on the aesthetics. I will defend it.
See, I don't think any like adults are gonna want to watch this movie necessarily. And that means it's just going to be put on the forefront of like kids and teens. Yeah. And sadly, it is so behind the time. Like it's still, it holds up pretty well from what we remember it as. But it's still pretty behind the times for what kids are watching nowadays. And I mean, Jesus, Rick and Morty even, and like kids watch that shit, which is fucked up, and they probably don't understand a lot. But it's way darker than this. It's like it's not doing the same thing, but like I think animation in general is just leaning darker now, and then kids are watching it more and more. So then this would be almost like too tame for kids nowadays. So unless you're going to show it to them very, very young, and then it's just getting into like a weird.
I think that's a fair point. It's like showing kids nowadays maybe like an early Simpsons episode. It'd be a bit tame compared to like what even the Simpsons are now, or like Family Guy or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair.
Because the first Family Guy I think is, I can't remember what it is. I think no, it's one of the first ones where he does like the reparations thing. He finds out he's black, and then
oh my god.
Yeah, and then he just he throws money out of the Goodyear blimp, and it's like that even is pretty tame. I mean, some of the God, they eat in American Dad. They eat two people. No, Family Guy. They eat a whole family, and then in American Dad they eat a girl.
Like a brainless horse in Family Guy. They have like
they eat
a
him?
mentally handicapped horse. I thought that they eat at some point.
I don't remember them eating him. I just remember him saving Peter. But
That's so insane.
But no,
I think you've made your point.
Okay, so yeah, I give a fuck about this movie. Like it's middle of the road. I don't want to go any lower because I think it did do good things for the time, but I don't think.
I think it's bump it up with a hand job or a blow job, my guy?
No, I think it has gone into the realm of being solely like a nostalgia / like recognize where we once were sort of thing. I mean, when are you gonna watch this movie again?
Probably.
When?
I'll show it to people who haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so
so
you won't seek it out. You will put it down there to show people who haven't seen it in order to express.
I could see this being something that I watch like every 3 or 4 years. I could see that.
Okay.
So that I think is pretty frequent.
When was the last time you watched it before this?
Maybe 6 years ago.
6 years. Okay,
5
so
or 6 years.
That was in 2014, 13?
Yeah, it's when it was on Netflix at that point.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, still, that's like a pretty big gap. I'm trying to, and maybe it can just be me.
I feel that this movie is definitely up my alley. I'm like, I would love to share this with other people and definitely see it again.
Yeah, and maybe
it's not one of my all-time favorites, but I'm definitely going to see it again at some point.
Yeah, and maybe it's just going to be me on this because we know Carl's never going to be impartial about his ratings. I mean, what did he?
He gave it a 3, I thought.
He gave it a 3.5, but I'm talking about like if there's any he gave didn't he give John Wick a 5 or something?
No, we talked him down to a 3.5 on that one.
Okay, but he gave Princess Bride a 5.
He did.
And
I gave Godzilla a 5.
That's the thing is that I'm going to just that's what I'm saying is I'm going to be the one who's going to have to be just as partial. I'm going to break it down as much as possible because
Godzilla, that was an easy freebie for me to get that one a 5. That's not going to happen again.
No, I gave Godzilla a 5 too.
You gave it a 4.
Did I? I thought I gave it a 5.
You gave it a 4.
Oh, okay.
Switching it now.
Well, no, we can't go back. We're not changing our scores. But
so in total, what this a 3.5 or?
This is a so Carl gave it a 3. Yeah, it's 3.5. Okay. So that's a good score. I mean, yeah. So I from now on, mine maybe will be lower, but maybe it all depends. But I'm just going to I'm going to leave you guys to be just the full, especially for these rewinds. There's going to be a lot of nostalgia.
That's true.
A lot of people rating things.
We should always preface that we're this is nostalgia clickbait. That's probably why you were watching this episode in the first place.
Yeah.
So you remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
And I mean, even some of my picks for the rewinds, Princess Mononoke. It's my favorite movie of all time. I would say or at least one of them. and a lot
It's
of the
really
Hayao
good. Really preachy,
really good,
but really good.
but it not as it's all of Hayao Miyazaki stuff is super preachy. Like even
Yeah.
Spirited Away, God, the whole thing is that like the river spirit is angry because there's there's crap in his river.
Side plot though.
But then there's three other side, like the river. Is it the river spirit? But then it's also the river that the girl that she fell into.
Right,
Like there's a lot of like It's like protect the natural world sort of
but
thing.
that isn't the main story though.
Well, no, obviously, but that's also not the main story of Princess Mononoke.
I think
He's trying to get a curse lifted, and it just turns out that it just throws him into.
That might be the main plot, but that really takes the sideline for we gotta save the forest in that movie.
Yeah, but that's like it's a shift halfway through. Like it's for most of it, like he doesn't care what happens. He doesn't care like what he's doing.
Oh, right.
He's just trying to solve this problem, and he kind of becomes more of like a warrior for protecting the environment in realizing that like this curse is something that's also plaguing the rest of the world. Like it's it's not like yeah.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
But I will say, and I don't know, I haven't seen the Blu-ray version of it, but I have the DVD version, and even that there, especially in the first part of the movie, there's scenes where the main character is riding on his like horse type creature, and
like gazelle looking thing.
yeah, and he's running through the forest, and because the frame rates for these TVs are so high, and because the frame rate on the actual original movie was low, it almost looks like it skips or it like freezes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, or it freezes or something. Like it does not look
like
good.
A lot of the problem with anime is like they'll like have one big scene that's animated really well, and everything else is like animated on lesser frames.
Well, I will say that's the only scene in that movie, even with the DVD, that I saw it being a problem. That's why I kind of want to see it with the Blu-ray and see if they fixed that or if it's maybe just the DVD, because the DVD is only, I think it's a 720p resolution DVD instead of a 1080. So I wonder with the Blu-ray, which is going to be higher. Dude. Yeah, oh man, that would probably be incredible. And all the issues would probably be, yeah, but there are times even in that movie, which I would say is my favorite movie. That
these are like, I mean, we did this whole rewind thing because we're like, yeah, we want to review new movies, but we just love movies. So obviously we picked a bunch that we're just
we want to show. We want to show because like
because they're.
I don't think I've seen some of the movies that you put on there. I don't think I've seen some of the movies Carl put on there.
I haven't seen Prince of Persia, the movie.
Oh,
which Carl put on there. So.
Yeah, and you know what, guys, we really need to.
We really roll for the next rewind.
Oh, it is here. We really need
first.
Yeah, we need to. We need to see. That's one of those movies where it's like
14. Let's see. Secret of Nim.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
I'm super excited for this one. That is such a good movie.
This might be a 5.
Oh yeah. I completely agree. I mean, like, as
I've
a
only
kid,
seen this movie once. I saw it like when I was like in my early 20s, and
shit,
I had seen like parts of it like every now and then. Like it reminded me, I'm like, oh, it's like Land Before Time, but like with mice. And then I saw the whole thing. I'm like, there's a lot going on.
And like this movie,
it's a sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah, because they're like mutant rats from this laboratory. But this movie, I would say, was probably one of my first brushes as a child with like the idea of my own mortality.
Oh wow.
Because like the kid at the beginning being sick, like this grievously ill kid that she's on this journey to help cure him, like it's very dark, it's very moody, it's very like emotional. Like I would say this might be one of those movies where I have to give it.
Oh, we got Ryan can't be by is roll the dice.
No, but it's
up, boom. Gotcha.
But I need to see it again because just like as a kid remembering this, I remember having like a visceral reaction to like being worried about this kid.
Violent, dude. There's like stabbings in this.
Oh yeah,
thing.
It's like it's like Hamlet but mice.
Yeah.
It's just super violent. Okay, guys, that was a good episode. We're at a good time. And
fuck
so
off, y'all.
yeah, guys, fuck off. Say it again.
Fuck off.
Okay, he's got to close it.